Hello everyone and welcome back to another hufo. This is the series where I give you my honest, unfiltered opinions on a variety of subjects that you ask me on Instagram. To get involved in a future one of these, make sure you follow me over there. The subject of today's video is going to be songs, so prepare to hear a bunch of my opinions on a bunch of songs. Before we get into it though, a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership to something with real practical value. There are countless classes ranging across the entire spectrum from watercolor branding to science fiction and fantasy writing. For a while now, I've been trying to make my way through a Skillshare class every week or so as a way to add something different into my life. This week, I watched the workshop How to Learn taught by Mike Boyd. Learning to learn is kind of a weird thought, but he talked about efficient skill practicing techniques, things that have direct implications to musicians. The sixth video in this series about pushing past that frustrating developmental rut that we all hit in the learning curve I found to be especially valuable. Skillshare is incredibly affordable, costing less than $10 a month for access to their entire library. If you're looking to explore some new skills, click the link in the description. The first 1,000 of you to do so will get 2 free months of premium membership. Anyways, let's get to it. To kick things off for the hufo song edition, I'm going to crush out a few tunes that many people ask me about. Of course, we've got Bohemian Rhapsody. My opinion on this Queen classic is that it's possibly the greatest rock and roll song of all time. If not, it's certainly top 5. It's truly a masterpiece. It's perfectly crafted, an amazing musical journey that hits all the highs and lows. It's one of those songs that defined rock and roll as we know it. Having said all that, I would probably be okay if I never heard this song again. I swear it's on the radio every time I turn it on, and I find it rare that I'm actually in the mood to listen to all 6 minutes. If I were to pick a Queen song purely for my enjoyment, I'd much rather listen to Fat Bottom Girls, Bicycle Race, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, or numerous others. And the next most requested song to hear my opinion on is Stairway To Heaven. If Bohemian Rhapsody isn't the greatest rock and roll song of all time, then Stairway probably is. But for me, unlike Bohemian Rhapsody, I will always happily listen to Stairway. This is one of the songs that shaped my youth. I learned the entire thing when I was 14 or so. It was the first guitar solo that I'd ever learned, and it solidified my growing teenage love for music and the guitar. It's a perfect 10 out of 10 in my books. If it were to come on the radio as I pulled into my destination, I would happily sit in the car to listen to the entire 7 minutes, even if it meant I was late for a dentist appointment, which is something I don't like to be late for. Another tune that came up a number of times is Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer. Huge fan of this song, and Continuum as a whole is one of my favorite albums. When I was in my later teenage years, John Mayer was at the height of his mainstream popularity, and I didn't really care for him that much. I thought he was just a lame pop star who sang about bodies being wonderlands. However, one day when I was working in the guitar store, one of the other employees put on Continuum. I remember hearing the intro to Slow Dancing and my ears perked up instantly. Within days, I had bought all of John Mayer's albums and was listening to them on repeat. It's a great song. The performance, the production, the writing are all world class, and it's a genre that I naturally gravitate towards. Also, in recent years, it seems to become one of those tunes that everybody plays in guitar stores, which is kind of cool. My friend Renette Jacobs asks my opinion on Baby Shark. I truly, deeply hate it, even though I've only heard it once. But my dad, who knows that my entire family hates this song, sings it all the time. I will say, since having a kid, I've written countless 30-second little songs for him, and there's one in particular that I think matches Baby Shark in its catchiness and annoyingness, but for the sake of humanity, I will not be unleashing it into the world. Next, Harv.exe asks my hufo on SRV's Stang's Swang. Stevie is one of my favorite guitarists, but there are 2 songs that specifically stand out to me as my least favorite songs that he did. Those would be Stang's Swang and Chitlin's Con Carne. To my ear, it sounds like a blues musician trying to do jazz with a bad accent, and it comes up short. Respect to Stevie for trying to branch out and do different things, but the difference between hearing him and Kenny Browell play a tune like Chitlin's Con Carne are night and day. I do think that he nailed the jazz-influenced blues things much more in a song like Lenny or Riviera Paradise. On a similar note, user Cliche Guitarist asked me about Stevie Ray Vaughan's cover of Stevie Wonder's Superstition. This is a scenario where I think the blending of genres really worked for Stevie Ray. He brought a unique and different vibe to Stevie W's tune, and I really enjoy this one. Jack Coffer asks my opinion on Wax Simulacra by Mars Volta. My first introduction to this band came in 2005 when they opened for the Chili Peppers, and I gotta say, I didn't enjoy that performance at all. The sound was absolutely terrible, and when you have a band that's as elaborate as the Mars Volta, you really need good sound or else it just sounds like mush. Also, apparently there was some inner turmoil going on in the group that came across on stage. However, years later, a buddy reintroduced me to them, and I saw them again on their Bedlam and Goliath tour and was totally won over. I'm not always in the mood to listen to the Mars Volta, but when I am, you can inject wax simulacra directly into my forehead because that song is awesome. Sean Phelps asks my opinion on Photograph. I'm not sure if he's talking about the song by Ed Sheeran, Nickelback, or Def Leppard, but it doesn't really matter because I'm not a huge fan of any of those numbers. Derek, whose username is too big to fit in the Instagram box, asks my hufo on Wheat Kings by the Tragically Hip. The Tragically Hip have always been a special band to me. They are one of the few Canadiana bands. This song in particular is about a Canadian who spent 23 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. It uses imagery that represents where I live, which is something that's pretty hard to find. More than any other band, their music just sounds like and reminds me of home. Their lead singer will always be a musician and person that I look up to. Our country certainly misses him. Next up, we have Jolene by Dolly Parton. This may be sacrilege to many, but I first got into this song through the Miley Cyrus version, and by extension, I now love the original. It's a masterclass in great country writing. Chandler Clement asks my hufo on Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson. When I first discovered Eric Johnson, when I was 18, 19 or so, I was really into his music. Cliffs of Dover was especially awe-inspiring, and I attempted to learn it a number of times. As I've gotten older, I've become less and less interested in virtuosic guitar music. I would never put this song on anymore, even though it held a special place in my heart at one point. Pa Mulka asks what I think about the famous 5/4 time signature jazz number, Take 5 by Dave Brubeck. Really great, even if it is one of the more overplayed jazz songs. I don't like it when a songwriter tries to implement a weird time signature just for the sake of it, but this tune makes it seem totally natural. It's a testament to Dave Brubeck that he could write a song with a weird time signature that would become one of the most popular jazz songs of all time. And also, fun fact, when I played with a traditional ska band, we used to do this song in 4/4 and we called it Fake 5. Real Nathan Gonzalez asks my hufo on Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. One of my favorite songs of all time. It always puts me in a good mood. Years ago, in the early stages of my YouTube career, I played this song at 5:30 a.m. really slow as the sun rose in the background. I then sped it up so that you could see the sunrise as I played Here Comes the Sun over the course of a few minutes. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description. Next up, we have Dark Necessities by the Chili Peppers. It's a fine song, but the magic with that band was lost for me when John left the band. But now that John is back in the band, the magic is back on. Moving on, we have Giant Steps by John Coltrane. I really dislike this song. I mean, it's brilliant and I like to listen to it now and then, but back when I was in school for music, it was kind of like the pillar of jazz elitism. You weren't really seen as a worthy musician by some students and teachers if you couldn't play through it. I spent a decent amount of time trying to learn it. I had a terrible time doing that. I didn't like it enough to put in the effort that I would have needed to, and in this process, I realized that I didn't want to be a jazz musician anymore. This song ended the period of time where I was listening and practicing jazz and made me seriously question a career in music. But Giant Steps also kind of freed me from that because that moment on, I decided that I was only going to listen and play the things that I truly loved. For 2.5, 3 years or so, I was forcing myself to do the jazz thing. I'm glad I did that because it made me the musician I am now. But letting go of that and putting on a Tom Petty record felt really amazing. R. Shackelford asked me what I think about Don't Fear the Reaper. It's a great song, but it could definitely use more. And last, Jack793 Chips asks my hufo on the Canadian National Anthem. As far as national anthems go, it's a good one. I have no problem with it, but be warned, I am going to go on a bit of a rant here. I hear the anthem the most before sporting events, which is something that I'm not super keen on. I mean, I'm personally very grateful to live in a place like Canada. There are some really great things about this country, but there are also some pretty negative things. I think true patriotism is not a blind allegiance to a flag or singing a song, but rather working to make a country the best it can be and addressing its faults. When it comes to international events, okay, I get it in that context, but singing the anthems before an NHL game seems to me to be more about drumming up blind patriotism, and if you look at the history of anthems and sporting events, that was the desired outcome. I mean, how weird would it be if we sang the anthems before a movie at a movie theater? Why is that so much different? However, I will say that right before the anthems at Jets games, they do say something to the effect of, "We acknowledge that this game is being played on traditional Indigenous grounds." That's kind of cool, but I would prefer if they just scrapped the whole tradition entirely. That's just my take though. I'm not sure it's an especially popular one, and I'm very open to hearing the other side of the coin. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, my opinions on a bunch of songs. Don't forget to check out the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. They really do offer a great product with something for everyone. And remember, the first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description will get 2 free months of premium membership. Thank you all for watching. If you want to get caught up in the hufo series, hit that link up there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for a wide range of musical content. If you have a different opinion on any of these songs or have something to add to the conversation, hit me up down in the comment section. Until next time, I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again soon.